Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So I want to talk to you about how to write an outstanding personal statement in 2025. In particular, in this video, I'll get into some of the things that haven't changed for 2025, a few of the things that have changed just a little bit, and then I'm going to give you 3 tips for standing out on your personal statement and application essays. So first of all, what hasn't changed? Well, the Common App, which is to say the application that most of you will be using when you're applying to, in particular, private colleges and universities, released its new prompts, and guess what? They're the same prompts as they've been for the past few years, which is great news, especially for college counselors. What does this mean? Well, colleges are still looking for the skills, qualities, values, and interests that you'll be bringing with you to a college campus, and you've got 7 different prompts, and by the way, no prompt is better than another, and even if you pick the topic of your choice prompt, still awesome, totally good to go. Now, 2 things to keep in mind. One is it can be really useful to try to brainstorm an uncommon essay topic for your personal statement. I'll say more about that in just a couple minutes. The second thing to keep in mind is that your personal statement is just one part of your application. It's not the be-all end-all. So you've also got things like your activities list, which is like your brag sheet. You've got supplemental essays in many cases, which is to say essays that will demonstrate different sides of you and that different colleges are going to ask for different essays. So keep in mind your personal statement is important, but it's just one aspect of the larger whole. Now, when it comes to some of the changes that are new for this year, the Common App has actually made 2 small changes. Number 1, the Common App has changed the Community Disruption section to Challenges and Circumstances section. Now, what this means is that it's expanding the scope of what you can put in this section. The second thing that they've done is they've taken the additional information section, which used to be 650 words, and they've shrunk it to 300 words. So what does this mean for you? Well, I've often thought of these 2 sections as being opportunities to either explain or expand. Now, when it comes to explaining things, what might you want to explain? Well, let's say there was a sickness that took you out of school for a little while, and maybe your grades suffered as a result. You might want to explain that. And you could do that in the Challenges or Circumstances section. Other things you could put in there would be like challenges your family faced, like maybe a parent lost their job and you had to take on more responsibilities around the home, or any of these things. You can screenshot that if you want. And those might be things that you want to explain in your college application. Now, when it comes to expanding, you can use the additional information section. What might you want to expand on? I don't know. Let's say there's a particular course that you've taken and it's not immediately obvious in the application what that course is. Or maybe you've done incredible research, for instance, or you've had a particular educational opportunity and you want to just say a little bit more about that. That's something you put in the additional information section. But heads up, you want to keep this really straightforward, to the point. Bullet points here are totally fine. You'll find lots more on this in my guide to the additional information section, which I've updated for 2025 and which I'll link below this video. 2 questions I get pretty often about this section are, number 1, can I use this section to explain a bad grade? And the answer is yes. And not only can you, but I would recommend, yes, doing it, because if you just leave that D there without an explanation, the reader is going to be left wondering, wait, what happened there? So yes, expand a little bit, but just bullet points. Talk about the challenge you faced, what you did, and what you learned from the experience as it related to that grade. All right, having said all that, I want to give you 3 tips for standing out in your personal statement and college application. Number 1, I'm going to recommend that you try to brainstorm an uncommon topic for your personal statement. What do I mean by common extracurricular activities? Well, here are some pretty common topics. You can feel free to pause the video or screenshot if you like. And I'm not saying you can't write a great personal statement if you choose one of those topics, but chances are if you write about violin or, I don't know, tennis or debate, you're probably going to blend in because they probably read that personal statement topic before, probably lots and lots of times before. So instead, I want to encourage you to brainstorm something a little bit more uncommon. And as you're thinking through topics, I want you to try to find something that's elastic, which is to say stretchy enough to talk about lots of different sides of you, your skills, qualities, values, and interests that you're going to bring to a college campus. Now, how do you do this? If I were to walk you through the exercises, it would take me like 20 minutes. So rather than do that, I'm going to link below to a different video that's going to walk you through 7 different ways to brainstorm an uncommon topic. It's linked inside my free guide to the personal statement. And once you brainstorm those different ideas, it'll show you how those ideas actually turn into a personal statement, how you revise it, etc. Second thing, I want to encourage you to try to weave in some of the qualities that the specific colleges that you're applying to are looking for. Now, how do you find these? Well, let's say you're interested in applying to Johns Hopkins. You can Google Johns Hopkins, what we look for, and you can see if they actually say on their website what qualities they look for. And lo and behold, Johns Hopkins actually does. Do other colleges do this? Yes, many of them actually do. And you can start to think about, okay, with whatever topic that you're considering, how could I weave in some of those qualities? Now, let's say you actually do research the colleges that you're applying to and you can't actually find what they're looking for, then here are 5 qualities that lots of colleges oftentimes are looking for. And I call them the college admission nutrients. Not because they are the be-all end-all, you have to include these, but because if you include these, they are going to make for a more healthy college application. These are intellectual curiosity, service to others, collaboration, leadership or initiative, and consistent engagement. Now, I've got lots more to say about those. I'm doing a whole podcast series, which you can find linked below this video. But suffice to say, if you can weave those into your college application, you're putting yourself into a good position. But the personal statement isn't the only place that you can weave in these qualities. You can also bring them into your supplemental essays. What are the supplemental essays? These are the essays that many selective schools will require besides the personal statement. And oftentimes these supplemental essays are going to be as important, if not more important, than the personal statement. How do I know? I was recently on a webinar with Calvin Wise, the Deputy Dean of Admission at Johns Hopkins, and he told me as much. Or you can find a podcast linked below this video with Rick Diaz where he says the same thing. Essentially, you can get a sense of what the school is looking for from that supplemental essay. Case in point, here's Johns Hopkins essay prompt from last year. How has your life experience contributed to your personal story, your character, values, perspectives, or skills, and what you want to pursue at Hopkins? And at the time of this reading, it was 350 word count. Now, how is that connected to what they're looking for? Well, if you go to the Johns Hopkins website, one of the main things they're looking for is intellectual curiosity. Another thing that they're looking for is leadership or initiative. And a third thing they're looking for is fit to the institution. And this third thing, how will you be a fit for Johns Hopkins, is what you can demonstrate in this particular essay prompt. All right, so practical steps that you can actually take. Number 1, like I said, try to brainstorm an uncommon personal statement topic. You'll find a guide linked below in my free guide to the personal statement. Second, see if you can find out what they're actually looking for. Like Google what we look for, the name of the school. And then third, weave in what they're looking for into the supplemental essays. And you'll find, guess what, a whole bunch of supplemental essay guides on my website. If you just Google the name of the school plus college essay guide, supplemental essay guide, you'll probably find a guide to the school that you're applying to. Lots more at collegeessayguide.com. And hey, if you're looking for one-on-one support, we do that too. We also do one-on-one support for low-income students through our Match Lighters program. I'll put links below this video. All right, much love. See you soon. Bye.